Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It is JD Mitra once again. Welcome to another Moneymaker Monday. And I love coming every week and having the honor of being your host to talk to you about making money. Making money. One of my favorite topics in the world. And hey, Anando, how you doing? Good to see you. And we're going to be talking specifically today about multiple revenue streams, multiple streams of income. And anybody that got a chance to look at my Facebook post, and I'll put it on right now, actually, as I speak to you. It was don't depend on one paycheck. And this is so important. Life is too short to live on one paycheck. That's exactly what the quote was. But it's really amazing to me because people throughout my life, a lot of friends growing up who I graduated with from college, they said, "Well, JD, you're so brave. You're so brave, and you're so courageous." And I was like, "Courageous how?" And they were like, "You're so courageous when it comes to being willing to not have a job and being willing to start a business and basically, have everything be under your control, calling the shots." And it's so funny to me because I've always felt the opposite about that. I don't know why it's counterintuitive for me, but somehow it works completely different for me. In my mind, I always feel that people with jobs, they're the risk takers. And it's just how I've always had it. I've always thought to myself, well, if you have a job, you have less control. You have there's more of a probability that out of no fault of your own, there could be some negative feedback. And that too, after years of being loyal and working for a company, that you're always as good as your last day. You're always as good as your last day. So I always felt like it was more of a risk to work 20 years for a company and get laid off, and potentially anyway, and to always think about who would be my replacement if I was not willing to take this new agreement that my company is now presenting in front of me, where I've got to take a pay cut after working for them for 20 years, or not take a salary increase because I'm afraid that they're going to replace me with somebody half my age for half the money. For me, that's a nerve-wracking situation. And I'm starting to see some of my friends who are, kind of in my age bracket, late 30s, early 40s, starting to kind of contemplate and think, am I even going to get to the finish line with this company? What I originally thought, 30 years with this company, and then I was going to retire. Those are things that you rarely see anymore. The days of working for a company where you can literally just, retire at the company that you started out with and get your Rolex watch and your party and ride off in the sunset and move to Florida. I think those days are really coming to an end. And nowadays, there's more freelancers than ever before. Less jobs, more freelancers, more work. There's more work, but you've got to have the entrepreneurial mindset, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is not living off a paycheck, not living off of one paycheck, learning to think like an entrepreneur and not think like a technician, like they say in the E-Myth, a very famous book. If any of you guys want to pick up a great book on business, the E-Myth. It's a fantastic book specific to E-Myth of, I believe it's E-Myth of real estate, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically a phenomenal book, and it talks about the distinction of being an entrepreneur and being a technician. And the entrepreneurial mindset is one of abundance, one that there's plenty out there, plenty of opportunities, plenty of clients. And then there's the other side, that the technician that feels that there's a life of scarcity, so they have to do everything do everything where they're being taken care of by an employer, and just basically burying your head in the sand and just assuming that your needs are going to get met by somebody else, instead of taking the bull by the horns and really going after life. So we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about the only 3 ways to make an income. There's only 3 ways in this lifetime that you will ever make money. If there's a 4th way, you can tell me what it is. But I only know of 3 ways you can make money. So we're going to be talking about that. Really quickly, just want to also make a special shout out. We had Michelle and I, we had 2 new people sign up for our Bali retreat, which is happening in October. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's October 4th to the 9th. But you can check that out at www.callingallgamechangers.com, www.callingallgamechangers.com. We are going to be in paradise, in a mansion, living it up in Bali. We're going to be doing some amazing coaching on the metamorphosis, going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Really having to do with your human potential. And we're going to have some amazing trainers that are going to be out there doing some great coaching on mindset, on lifestyle, on living a life of abundance, and really living up to your full potential, living up to your life purpose, why you're here on this planet. So if anybody is interested, again, private messenger me, private message Michelle, or just go to the website. And you'll see it, callingallgamechangers.com. You can get all the information. So I just want to plug that in for anybody who's interested in going with us to this beautiful, beautiful, exotic retreat in no other place than Bali. Gorgeous. So I know I had Bali on my bucket list for years, and now we finally get to make this happen. So back to Moneymaker Monday. And back to the only 3 ways that you can make money in any aspect of life. There's only 3 ways. Okay, so the 3 ways are you ready? And you want to write this down? You're more than welcome to write this down. The only 3 ways there are to make money in this life is 1, through active income, 2, through passive income, and 3, through interest income. So we've got active income, passive income, or interest income. All right, we're going to go through all 3, and we're going to see where you fit in. We're going to see where are you missing out on an opportunity to really take the bull by the horns of your life and start to make income in places that maybe you've considered but have never really acted upon. So the first one's pretty straightforward, active income. What is active income? Active income, by definition, is income that you make now. Income that you make now. So you have a job, you work your job, you get a paycheck, you deposit the paycheck in the bank, and then you pay your bills with that paycheck, and there you go. That's active income. Now that works too with a business. If you have a business income that, you run a store or you have some type of consulting business, you do the work and then you get paid for the work that you do. So in that regard, a business and a job are exactly the same. They go hand in hand. They both are classified under this category of active income. Now, I want to tell you there's nothing wrong with active income. Active income is the way the world goes around. 99% of people basically make active income. That's how they make a living. And that's pretty much primarily the only way that they make a living. So it's like trading hours for dollars. You work 40 hours, you get a paycheck. You run a business for 40 hours, 50 hours, you get income. And that's how it is. You trade hours for dollars. And there are exceptions to that, which we're going to talk about with passive income. But just want to say that there's nothing wrong with making an active income, except if you're a surgeon and you get older, or you're a dentist and you get older, what happens to your hands? What happens to your mind? What happens to your ability to do those surgeries? Or if you're a teacher or a police officer, or anything that requires some level of physicality, which is pretty much every profession on some level, is going to require something of you. What happens when you're no longer able to perform at the level that you were able to perform when you were 30 years old, 40 years old, 45 years old? This is the big fear when it comes to passive income, is that there will come a time where you could either be replaced, somebody can do it better than you, somebody is going to be younger than you and be willing to do it for less money than you're willing to do it for. So these are the challenges of active income, is while it addresses the now, it doesn't address necessarily the future. Now, there's things that you can do with active income. You can invest it. And I know a lot of people that I know invest their income. They invest it into long-term things like 401k plans. They invested in stock portfolios. They invested in real estate. Great way to invest it is in rental properties, real estate, buying homes, renovating them, flipping homes. So there's a lot of different things that people do where they take their active income and they actually take it out of the basket of active income and they put it into these other two baskets. One basket being passive income, which we're going to talk about, and the other being interest income, which we're also going to talk about. So before we get into passive income, let's talk about interest income. So one of the things that people do, if you work a job, I have a good friend of mine, he's an attorney, works for Pepsi, and he puts his money in a 401k. Pretty basic. Millions of people do this in America and all around the world. They put their money in a 401k. Maybe they give their money to, a third party, whether it's Charles Schwab or Fidelity or whoever the case may be. And they give them the money so that they can take that money and invest it for them. They invest things in things that are aggressive, like stocks. Maybe they'll put some money into bonds. And they diversify. You always hear this word diversify. So they will create a diversified portfolio for you at a cost, right? They're all going to charge a percentage. No one's going to do that for free. But maybe for 0.5% per quarter, you are basically having some type of financial institution, financial advisor manage your hard-earned money. And it's basically an admission that possibly there are people out there who know, because it's their full-time profession, how to invest your money better than you do, which very well might be the case. So, if you're making 7%, I think historically the number 7 or 8% in a 401k, 9%, whatever you want to call it, and then you want to say that you're giving away 2% per year in management fees and cost, essentially, to operate that. Maybe you're netting out at 6%, somewhere in that range. Well, there's nothing wrong with that except for the fact that if you look in the United States, and I know it's more in other countries like India, like emerging market countries out there, but let's just use the United States, for example. Inflation is operating at 5.5%. And some people say inflation is operating at a higher rate, even 10%. So it's kind of counterproductive to take your hard-earned money and have it working in an interest account like a 401k, if you think about it, because that money essentially is just, you're almost like breaking even, because as your money goes up and starts to go up, even compounding interest, it doesn't negate, or it doesn't overcome, it doesn't have the ability to overcome the fact that your money is worth less year over year by 5.5%. So a gallon of milk will be 5.5% more next year than it was this year, more or less. Maybe a gallon of gas goes up, maybe a gallon of milk goes up, 3%, but then a gallon of gas goes up 7%. So it averages out to 5.5%. And that's essentially what we're up against as people living on this planet, is cost of living increases, inflation increases. So we as people have to figure out a way to kind of combat this. So you've got your active income, which is supporting you now with whatever you're able to do because you're healthy enough to do it. Whatever you do as a business, as a job to create income for yourself. And then a piece of that active income will be taken out and put into savings, right? Into something that creates interest income. And that interest income, the theory behind it, is that you'll one day be able to retire off of it. And that it'll be enough money at one point where between Social Security and your retirement fund, that you'll be able to live well, by downsizing and going to Florida or, some place where you can sell your house and rent a condo and live out the rest of your life. And the sad truth about it, and all you gotta do is talk to older people. I mean, talk to people that are retired, and talk to people that have said that they retired too early, or that their 401k wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be. So interest income is really a challenging thing. You need to have a lot of money in the bank. Let's put it like this. You have to have probably what you're making every single year, year over year. If you were able to save every dollar, if you were able, which is impossible, but if you were able to save every dollar that you owned and then put it into an interest account, and then maybe you can overcome the 5.5% for inflation. But you got to understand, there's a stat right now. If you just take an inflation calculator, Google search inflation calculator, put 5.5%, take $1 million and figure out what $1 million would be worth in 20 years at 5.5% inflation. It's $200,000. Adversely, what it costs to just eat a meal, like let's say you want to eat 3 square meals, not even going out to dinner. I'm talking about just cooking in your house, husband and wife, retired couple, 3 meals a day, 3 square meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Today in 2018, that'll cost you $30 in the US. In 20 years, that same meal will cost you $87. So how are you going to live and afford to pay for 3 square meals at $87 a day when you've lost your income, your active income, when you retire, and inflation is working at 5.5%? So this is kind of the thing where, people don't like to face the harsh realities of life. So what do? They bury their head in the sand. They jump on Netflix. It's kind of a way to avoid, if you really think about it. But we just think that the government's going to take care of us, that Social Security is going to take care of us. Well, good luck with that. I mean, there's funds right now. If you go on websites and you look at like teachers funds, like New York State teachers funds, and you look at the retirement accounts, like there's literally like certain websites that you can go to, nyc.gov, where you can see that literally the government, local governments are not doing well. And there may not be, I'm not saying there won't be, but there may not be right now, as it stands, money assigned or allocated towards teachers' pensions or firefighters or police officers. And, maybe the governments will figure it out. But again, if you're waiting on other people to figure out your issues and figure out and create solutions for you, it goes back to that same thing that I said at the beginning of the Facebook Live. I think you're the risk taker, not me. People think I'm courageous. People think I'm brave. I think you guys are risk takers. I think it's absolutely insane to depend on your government, your local or federal, or or anybody to really take care of what it is that you have the ability to take care of yourself. And that's where I want to talk to you and start to shift gears and really talk about the third and final way that you can make money, which is passive income. Passive income is probably an income that maybe 1 to 2% of people really take advantage of in a population the size of the United States and even worldwide. Passive income. We're talking about income that's created not from work that you do now, but really work that maybe you invested in the past that is now generating money for you. And this is very commonly seen where an artist sings a song like Elvis Presley. He sang songs, 50 years ago, 60, 70 years ago. His estate is still making millions of dollars off of his talent, off of his legacy. And that's a beautiful thing when you can do things like that. But I can't sing like Elvis. And that's the harsh reality. Is I'm not a singer. I'm not a writer. I'm not somebody that necessarily has created something that I'm going to be able to make money off of later. So what do the rest of us do? What do the 99% of us do that can't make money in a passive way by creating royalty checks through being an actor in a sitcom or through being a singer in an album? How do we make it when we can't make a recurring income, a passive income? This is where I think for the common person, the common man, who I feel like that's the people that I speak to anyway, is the common man. I really believe, and this is the wholehearted truth for me, this is my end game, so I'm just sharing you with what my end game is in passive income. Rental properties. For me, this is the holy grail of business. I don't care what business you're in. You could be a stock trader. You could be somebody that owns Dunkin' Donuts franchises. You could be somebody that's a financial planner. You could be a lawyer. I don't really care how you make your money. But rental property, rental income is one of the most lucrative places to put your money. So before you put another dollar in your 401k and give it away to Charles Schwab or to some, Vanguard, whatever company, think about rental properties. Rental properties are to me one of the best things because it's inflation proof. Number one, that's first and foremost, is that just like the cost of living goes up, just like a gallon of gas goes up, just like the cost of milk goes up, the cost of rent goes up. The cost of rent goes up. And as a landlord, you can raise the rent in a periodic basis. It might be every year, it might be, every 2 years, but you can essentially counter the effects of inflation and create an inflation-proof passive income for yourself, and not just for yourself, for your children, for your children's children. Some of the wealthiest people in the world, no matter where they came from, no matter where their success came from, ultimately ended up investing in real estate. And they ended up creating cash flow. They ended up creating a rental income, a passive income. And the beauty of it is when they pass on, they pass it to their children, they pass it to their children's children. You want to create a legacy for your children. How about creating a legacy for your children's children? That's what's possible in real estate. And that's really what's possible with rental income. So for me, like I said, that's the holy grail when it comes to business. The reason I do business, the reason I make an active income is so that I can take that money and put it into passive income. Period. End of story. I'll say it again. The reason I create an active income is so that I can take that money and put it into something, some vehicle that will create passive income. That is the way that I look at my retirement. That is the way that I look at my lifestyle when I'm older. That is the way I look when I pass away and I have some legacy to leave to my 2 kids, is creating a passive income, creating a rental income. So now I kind of turn it to you and really ask you, wherever you're listening from, maybe you're in New York, maybe you're in Georgia, maybe you live in California, wherever you are, the beautiful thing about passive income, specific to real estate, specific to rental properties, is the fact that you could do it from anywhere. There's homes in Alabama. There's homes in Macon, Georgia. And you know what's great about it? I'm an investor in New York, but one of the things that I'm starting to figure out is that all the deals are not in my backyard. There are so many great deals in places like Macon, Georgia, and Memphis, Tennessee, Jacksonville. There's like 3 major cities in Florida: Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, that are huge when it comes to cap rates. Really, really great rental properties that you can get for $100,000 that you could rent out for $1,500 a month. And literally within a few short years, you could be recovering your full investment that you put in, and then be making money, real money, that you could be making year over year. What's beautiful about it is as time goes on, your rental income goes up, but your mortgage goes down. Your rental income goes up, but your mortgage goes down. Now, how about investing and in 20 years, 15 to 20 years, being able to see your investments and say, oh my God, look, yes, Tarba, South Carolina. South Carolina is a hot spot. Let me tell you, there's a lot of people that want to move to South Carolina. It's a hot spot. And even for Airbnb, there's a lot of people that do rental properties and they rent it out Airbnb. South Carolina is one of the hot spots for Airbnb. Beautiful places in South Carolina like the Outer Banks Crossing and places like that. But that's the beauty of real estate, is you can literally do it from anywhere. And I generally think that it's kind of like common sense. You don't necessarily need, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to make it in real estate. Just some really strong principles, a few strong principles that I like to touch on when it comes to real estate. Understanding your market, understanding if buyers and renters are going there. So like certainly learning the trends of a particular zip code. I think it's important in real estate to focus on one particular zip code and just aim all your guns at that one local area. and really get really proficient. Learn to become an expert in one area of the country that you know that people are moving to, people are renting, and that there's a demand for. And then looking for deals in those areas. So, guys, there's a lot of things that we do with our spare time that are not productive. We call it downtime, Netflix time, movie watching time, playing basketball time. And that's cool. I have there was a saying that I heard that really resonated with me. It says, I work harder than I ever did before so that I don't have to work hard at all. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but basically I work hard so I don't have to work hard later. And, it's kind of like working hard to be lazy. So you can have 6 Saturdays and a Sunday down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, that life can be easy. And that is totally possible. It's your life by your design. You're creating. You are the creator, the designer of your life. And if you are depending on a paycheck, and you think that your boss or your company is going to take care of you, and you're okay with just letting go of all these opportunities to make a passive income, and you are just depending on this paycheck, and you think that it's going to take you throughout your entire life and you're going to be good, you are literally living in a fantasy world. You are living in a fantasy world if you think that the paycheck that you get is going to take care of you when you're 70, when you're 75, when you're 80, when you're 85. God forbid you should live to 90. That at the cost of inflation, at the rate of inflation, 5.5% a year, that you're going to have enough money to not only retire, but to maintain your lifestyle. Or even if you were to downsize your lifestyle, that's why I see like all these people moving to like foreign countries. Now people are retiring in Mexico, retiring in the Philippines, Thailand, because it is getting too expensive for people to not have an active income. Remember the active income that we talked about. And once that income stops, to be living off of their Social Security, living off of whatever small interest income they were able to save in a retirement, in a 401k, it's not enough. It is not enough to just be living off of active income and interest income. Unless you're somebody that's banking, $500,000 a year or more and putting away, 40% of that, which most people don't do. Most people don't do that. I know millionaires that are broke. I know millionaires that make $1 million a year and spend $1,001 because they're just trying to keep up with the Joneses of their neighborhood. And that's human nature to do that. That's human nature to live better, higher on the hog as your income goes up. And again, nothing wrong with that. But I just look at it that as you are living your life and living well, you got to also think about the future. You got to also think that there may come a day where you're not able to make that active income. You're not able to make the income that you're making in your 40s when you're 60, when you're 70. And for that reason, and even, not even considering yourself, if you just think about your children, imagine being able to build rental properties with your kids. Imagine being able to teach that to your children. I often think about what are the things that I want my kids to know. There's a couple of major things I want my kids to know. Whether I live or whether I pass on at an early age, there's a couple of main things I would want my kids to know. One is to have a relationship with God. Most important to me is to develop a strong spiritual practice to get you through the adversities of life, because we all know there's going to be adversity in life, financial and also non-financial, emotional. There's going to be different types of adversity. So we need our kids, for me anyway, to have a strong spiritual practice and really have a relationship with their creator. And the other thing is for them to learn how to make a passive income. I mean, that's like number 2. Right after God is rental property. And it sounds crazy to say that, but I don't really care what my kids do. As long as they're passionate, as long as they're totally empowered to live out their career, making their active income, and they feel inspired, they feel like their life has meaning, I'm great with whatever they do. I have no attachment. But I'm going to teach my kids one thing, and this is what I encourage each and every one of you to do, is to teach them how to make a passive income. Teach your children, even if you don't teach yourself, or teach yourself so you can teach your children how to make money in real estate, how to make money in rental properties, simple things. Invest now early. into good deals that are out there. There's so many good real estate deals out there. You just got to know the criteria in finding them. And we're going to touch on that later on, how to find off-market deals, how to find deals that come up before they actually hit the MLS, before there's all this competition, before somebody gets a broker. There are motivated sellers out there that are just looking to get out of a deal. Maybe they need to relocate. Maybe they had a divorce. Maybe they had somebody die in their family. Maybe they lost their job. But for whatever reason, maybe they can't afford that house anymore. And that's where you could come in and actually be a solution for that person while getting a great deal on a rental property, on a future rental property. So for each and every one of you, I want you to start thinking about that. There's only 3 ways to make income: active income, passive income, and interest income. If you are just depending on active income and interest income, I promise you, you are living in a fantasy world if you think that that's going to take care of you. Start thinking about a passive income. Start thinking about how you can start to create a legacy that you can leave behind for you, for your family, for your loved ones, for your favorite charities. Being able to invest in real estate has taught me that this is bigger than just me. This is also about all the things that I love and all the things that I get to finance. Wouldn't it be great to give your church the same check that you gave, only with 3 more zeros attached to the back of it, so you could tithe more than you did before, so you can give back more than you did before? Well, that's possible when you're in real estate, when you're making a passive income in addition to your active income. That's what's possible, is to be able to give more than you've ever given before. So that's my talk for today, is really about these 3 different forms of income. See where it fits in your life. Maybe it's not real estate for you. Maybe it is some other form of investing. Maybe it's the stock market. Maybe you know who the next Apple computer is, the next Netflix, the next Tesla. Maybe you know. But I think that one thing that we know is that without a crystal ball, it's almost impossible to know in the investment world, in the world of stocks and bonds, whether a stock is going to go up or down historically over the course of time. You know, we can guess, but without a crystal ball, it's impossible of guaranteeing. But what I can guarantee you is real estate ain't going nowhere. Real estate will go up in value. Real estate will appreciate. And no matter what, when it comes to cash flow, because I don't care so much about appreciation, I care about cash flow. Cash flow is king. When you can create multi-family homes, which you have 3 incomes coming in from a 3-family, 2 incomes coming in from a 2-family, multiple revenue streams, that's how you create your future. That is your retirement. Don't depend on a boss. Don't depend on a company because they've been good to you for the first 10 years. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that they're going to be good for the next 10 or the 10 after that. Don't hang your hopes on that. Don't hang your children's hopes on that, most importantly. And that's my talk for today. The greatest days of your life lay ahead. Think about the 3 incomes and specifically hone in on the passive income. Think about how you can make a passive income. Start to think about ideas, and this is your assignment, your homework assignment. For those of you that want to do it, is write down 5 ways, just 5 ways that you can create a passive income. 5 ways. And again, the definition is an income that's created where it goes on without you having to do the work for it. It continues. Start to think about that, and the greatest days of your life lay ahead. I love you, and as always, see you at the top.